Hi, I'm John. I'm a web developer and designer. Here are some of my projects you might want to see. Vortex is a web application where you can trade your cryptocurrencies. You can easily buy, sell, or store your cryptocurrency in one place. Do you want to see how it works? Just check the demo app. Studio X is a social media app where you can criticize books and movies. You can share with your friends and check other users' reviews on your favorite books. And Lama is a food ordering app that you can use on any Android and iOS device. Discover new places and pay online. If you want to check my other projects and see my coding skills, just find me on Github. Hello friends, did you like it? I hope you did, because today we are gonna create this beautiful portfolio website from scratch. If you are a developer, it's a great example because it's creative but minimal at the same time. It's really important because if you want to get hired, you have to get people's attention first. So instead of those classic boring portfolio pages, let's create something better. In this tutorial, you will learn how to give parallax effects, how to create animations, and other advanced CSS features. I will also give some tips on what to consider when creating a decent portfolio page. And after that, we will deploy this website using Hostinger. As you know, it's my favorite hosting provider. I've been deploying all my projects using Hostinger from the beginning of this channel and never had a single problem. And it's perfect for portfolio websites because you can deploy all your demo apps in one hosting. And also, you will get a free domain and free SSL certificate at this price. After choosing the best option for you, select your time period, and if you use the link in the description below and Lama Dev coupon code here, you are gonna get an extra discount. After choosing the payment method and purchasing, you are gonna redirect it to the Hostinger panel. Right now we are gonna claim our free domain, and let's start with the first tip. When creating a portfolio website, your domain name shouldn't be too long. Just keep it short as much as you can. People tend to write their names and surnames, but I recommend you to find a nickname or a short version of your real name. Of course, if your name is John Doe, it's not a problem, but make sure that it's maximum 7 or 8 characters. And for the domain extensions, you can use .com, .net, .io, .me, .dev, and some others related to your work. After the registration, it's ready to use. So let's set up our hosting, build a website. I will start from scratch and choose my new domain, and we can finish the setup. It's gonna take a while, and right after that, you are gonna see your H panel. We will make all our settings in this panel. We can create subdomains, we can manage our files and folders. So if we are ready, let's create our website and deploy it here. Okay, let's open a new folder, and inside, firstly we are going to have index.html, and we are going to have a style file, style.css, and finally app.js. It's going to be our main JavaScript file. Okay, let's create our document, and let's write here our style file, link, and style.css. And my JavaScript file, I will say script, and source will be app.js. Let's see, I will say console log, it works. And I'm gonna right click and open with live server. And it works. Perfect. Let's try this CSS file also. I'm gonna choose all document, and I will say background color, let's say brown for example. I'm gonna save, and as you can see it works. Okay, right now we can create our first elements. Inside body tag, firstly we are gonna need a container. It's gonna be the main container of our application. It's gonna include everything, and firstly we are gonna have an introduction section. Let's see what we have. This is our example page. In the introduction section, we are going to have this page. I'm John, and a job title here, another one, and that's all. After that, we are going to have our projects. And finally, this GitHub section. So let's say intro, projects, and GitHub. For this section, I'm going to create a div first. Let's come here and say salute, for example. And in this div, we are going to have two different divs. First one will include this text, and second one will include this image. Let's say text container and image container. And inside this container, we are going to have our h1 tag. Let's say text, and it's going to be only hi. And here we are going to have an image. Let's give class name image, like that. And source will be images folder. Of course, we don't have yet. Let's create. I will say image, and inside I'm going to drag and drop my images. And for this section, we are going to be using this image. Okay, let's say person.png. Okay, perfect. But as you can see, there is a space here from left and top. To prevent this, by the way, let's delete this background. I'm gonna say padding 0 and margin 0. Okay, there is no default padding anymore. This padding comes from our h1 tag, not our document. And one more thing, I want to change this font family, fonts.google.com, and I'm gonna be using Open Sans. Let's copy those styles. We are not gonna be using italic, so I'm gonna choose only 300, 400, 5, and 6. And maybe others. I don't think we are gonna need them, but let's choose. So I'm gonna copy this link and let's open up index file, and I'm gonna paste here. Okay, we imported our font family, but how we are gonna use it? The only thing we should do is to copy this font family and paste inside our document. Where is our style? Here. I'm gonna paste. And as you can see, it has changed. So let's separate this text and this image. In the example, as you can see, they are horizontal. By the way, the height of this div is, as you can see, 100 VH. Basically, it contains all this screen. So let's write here our container. So I'm gonna say height 100 VH. And to make those items horizontal like this, I'm gonna be using display flex. And right now I can give any size for this container and for this image container. As you can see in the example, this text is bigger than this image. Actually, it's 3 times bigger than this image. Let's do that. I'm gonna be using my text container. Actually, let's open this here. Okay. As you can see, our text container, I'm gonna take this and I will say flex 3. And for this image container, it's gonna be flex 1. Right now, this container will be 3 times bigger than this container. Like that. So let's give a background color for our website. So I'm gonna choose container here. And it's gonna be this dark color. Like that. Let's give a width for this image. I'm gonna choose salute image. And width will be 100%. So it's gonna fit inside its container. And what about this text? Let's copy this text. I will say color a little bit softer black. And font size will be 60 VW. So it's gonna arrange its size according to our website width. What I mean by that? If I open my console, as you can see, right now it's smaller. If I move this console, as you can see, it's getting smaller and bigger. If you give here any fixed number, let's say font size 300 pixels, in this case, as you can see, it's always 300. To prevent this, we are gonna be using this version. Okay, let's close here. And as you can see, this container and this image container are not horizontally centered. To make them centered, I'm gonna come here. We are already using Flexbox. If I say align item center, as you can see, this text and this image are centered. By the way, I don't want to see this text cursor. I'm gonna come here and cursor will be default. Like that. Okay, that's all. Let's check here. As you can see, it's exactly the same. So let's take care of this name section. As you can see, it's 100 VH also. After this container, I'm gonna say name container. And inside, let's say H2, and it's gonna be name. And I will say I'm John. Let's create name container, height 100 VH, and background color will be this purple color. Like that. But there's a problem here. As you can see, this image is overflowing. To prevent this, let's come here, our container, I'm just gonna say overflow hidden. As you can see, it stays inside its div. Okay, perfect. So what about this name? Font size will be 20 VW, and I'm gonna change the color. Again, softer dark, and cursor will be default. Okay, I can center this text. Text align center. But as you can see, it's not vertically centered. To center this item, you can give here display flags, align item center, justify content center, but also you can give here line height. If I say 100 VH, as you can see, it's centered. Let's give background color and you can understand better. Let's say this color. As you can see, it contains all this screen that because its line height is 100 VH. If I say 50, as you can see, it's a half of this screen. Okay, let's delete this. And let's take care of other elements. We are gonna have a job title here and another one. Let's create. After this name container, I will say job title container. And first one will be H2 and job title. It's gonna be a web developer and one more container. I'm doing this because they are gonna be 100 VH, and also we are gonna give those backgrounds. That's why we are using container here. And second one will be and designer. Okay, they are here. We don't have any height right now. Let's give. I'm gonna copy them. But there is one thing we should consider. Yes, we have job title containers, but this one is different than this one. Its background color will be this purple color and it's gonna be dark. So let's give here additional class names. I will say dark and purple. Okay. I'm gonna copy this container. As always, 100 VH. For the dark one, I'm gonna give here this background image. And this is background 1. We are gonna be using this image. So I will say background URL, and images folder and inside bg1.png. Let's see. Okay, perfect. And for the second one, let's copy this and I'm gonna say purple and it's gonna be bg2.png. Okay, we cannot see that because the background color is the same color. So if I come here and say our purple color and this background at the same time, as you can see, background color is purple and background image is this image. And for those titles, remember it's job title. Font size will be 10 VW and color will be soft dark and line height again 100 VH and cursor will be default. As you can see, it's centered vertically. That's because we gave line height, but I'm not gonna center this horizontally. That's because we are gonna give our parallax effect here. They can stay like that for now. And finally, we can start our projects. I'm gonna close here and inside projects, firstly let's say h1 projects title and it's gonna be this text like that. And after that I'm gonna create each individual project. For example, this is one project, this is another one, but as you can see this is a phone but it's gonna be a laptop. So they are gonna be a little bit different. Let's take care of this one first. After this title, I'm gonna create my first project. Again, it's gonna include two containers. First one will be our project details and second one will be this phone container. So let's say phone and inside, let me show you our images. There's a PNG here, it's just a frame and inside is empty. So what I'm gonna do is to create here a screen div. If I manage to create this screen, I will be able to put this image and we will be able to scroll inside that screen. So firstly, our phone image, phone.png, and after that I'm gonna create a screen. And inside screen another image and let's say phone website or app. Image phone app.png. Okay, it looks strange for now, but after creating screen it's gonna be much better. By the way, those screenshots don't belong to me, I just found on the internet, so I'm not gonna share them with you in case of any copyright problems. But it's really easy to take screenshots of websites. Just search for Go Full Page Chrome extension and when you click on this extension, it's gonna take the entire screenshot of your application. So you can use them instead of this image. Okay, let's create our project details and after that we are gonna handle this font. I will say project detail. First one will be our title. Let's give any name here and a p tag and it's gonna be project description. Let's create some random sentences and finally we are gonna have a button. I will say button and project button. And let's say learn more. So let's separate them. Let's check in the example. As you can see, our container will be display flags and I'm gonna separate them like that. So let's create here projects. Remember, this is our main container, not this project container. It includes this title also. So what I'm gonna do is giving here display flags, but it's gonna be vertical. So if I say flags direction column, As you can see, it's not horizontal, it's vertical. And I want to give space between this title and this project div. So if I say gap 100 pixels, as you can see, it gives this space here. By the way, I can give some padding for this main div. So I will say padding 100 pixels, but it's going to be only from left and right. From top and bottom, it's going to be 0. Like that. Okay, let's take care of this title quickly. Project title. I'm going to give font size. And as always, our color. Like that. Actually, I can increase this number. Let's come here. And let's check 30 VH. Let's see. It looks okay. It can stay like that. If it doesn't fit after animation, we are gonna change it. Finally, our project container. It's gonna be horizontal, align item center. I'm gonna give gap between them. Of course, we cannot see right now that because this image is too big. Let's comment this out for now. Okay, as you can see, it's horizontal and centered. But as you realize, it's not 100 VH. Let's give quickly height 100 VH. And again, I'm gonna give overflow hidden. When we give any animation, this font image is not gonna overflow. Okay, so let's take care of this font right now. This image size is 300 pixels and 600 pixels. So we can use this for this font div. Let's see what we have. We have a font div. It includes our frame and our screen. So since this font image is 300 pixels and 600 pixels, I can directly give this size for this font. Let's see. 300, height 600. I'm gonna give background color. Let's say aqua, for example. And as you can see, it's exactly the same size. I wanted to give here the same size, that because we are gonna create here our screen. I know the screen size. Let's write that. I will say font screen. What was the name? Okay, screen. Let's say font screen. Width is 264 and height is 567. If I give any background color, let's say blue, and I'm gonna delete this one. As you can see, this is gonna be our screen. So what I'm gonna do is giving a position absolute for this screen and moving this somewhere here. So it's gonna start from here and it's gonna contain all this screen. Right now, the important point is the frame size. That because I'm gonna give a position according to this frame size and this frame size. And I already know that. You might want to use another font frame here, for example, or another size, or maybe you wanna use a tablet or something like that. And I highly recommend you to use a Photoshop software. There are a lot of free tools. Just create your own frame and make sure that you measure the screen size and also those frame sizes. So let's say position absolute. And of course, if you are using position absolute, the parent div should be position relative. And let's give here top 0, left 0. And as you can see, it starts from the beginning of this font. But I don't want to do that. As I said, I already know where to start. So it's going to be 17 pixels and it's going to be 18 pixels. But the edges are too sharp. Only thing I should do is to give a border radius. I will say border radius 20 pixels. Okay, maybe more. It's too small. like that, and it's too big. Something like that is perfect. Okay, we have our screen right now, and instead of this background color, I'm just gonna open my image here. As you can see, it's overflowing. I'm gonna copy this class name and give a width, and it's gonna be 100%. As you can see, it fits inside, and if I give overflow hidden for this screen, it's gonna be completed. But this time, as you can see, I cannot scroll, so instead of overflow hidden, it's gonna be overflow scroll. And right now I can scroll, but there is this scroll bar here and it doesn't look good. To delete this, I will say phone screen, and we are gonna be using WebKit scroll bar, and display will be null. Right now, as you can see, it's disappeared. Perfect. Let's take care of this content quickly. Let's remember what we have. Project detail container. Inside we have a title, project description, and a button. Let's copy this and start. Again, I can open this here. Like that. And right now, let's remember what we have done here. We set display flex, but this text is 3 times bigger than this image. To do that, we have used flex property. I want to give exactly the same size for this image and for this content. So if I come here and for this font, I will say flex 1. I will copy, and I'm gonna do exactly the same thing here. And as you can see, they are same size. So let's make this container display flex, but flex direction column. And after that, let's give some gap between those items. Display flex, flex direction column. Gap between those items will be 50 pixels, and I want to align items center. As you can see, they are centered. What about this title? Let's copy. Font size will be 7, and color will be this soft color, like that. Its font size will be 20 pixels, color exactly the same color, like that. But as you can see, there is a huge space here. To prevent this, I'm gonna say text align justify. And I want to increase line height 40 pixels. As you can see, it looks much better. And finally, this button, project button. I'm gonna give padding from top and bottom, left and right. And I will say background color transparent. So we are not gonna have any color. I'm gonna zoom in like that. Let's see in our example. There is a gray border here and the font color is exactly the same color. So let's say 2 pixels, solid, 555, and text color will be exactly the same color, and cursor will be pointer. Semicolon here. Okay, perfect. So how I'm gonna give these effects? As you can see, we are gonna have different container here, and when we hover over this button, it's gonna come from the left side slowly, like that. To do that, we can create different div here inside this button, but I want to show you something different. Instead of another div, you can say project button and after, and you can give here any content. In our example, as you can see, it's view demo. I'm gonna write this text there. As you can see, it's here. But what I want to do is to hide this container first, and it's gonna show up only when I hover over this button. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create exactly the same button. So width will be 100%, height will be 100%. And if I say position absolute, and again, let's test it. Top 0, left 0, and background color aqua again. And if you are using absolute, as I said, position relative, and let's see. As you can see, it starts from top 0 and left 0. If I move this to this left side, so instead of 0, I will say minus 100%. Right now, it starts from here. And if I go to parent and say overflow hidden, it's gonna be disappeared. Let's give here a hover effect. I'm gonna copy my button here. And I will say hover. And when I hover, it's gonna affect this div. It was left 100%. So basically, I'm gonna move this div to right side. To do that, we are gonna be using transform, translate x, because we are gonna move onto x-axis, and 100%. Let's see, I'm gonna hover. As you can see, it's here. But it's too fast. I can give any animation here. I will say transition. It's gonna take 1 second, and I can write here transform, or I can write any animation. In this case, all animations will be 1 second, like that. Perfect. Right now, I can center this item and delete this background color. I will say display flags, align item center, justify content center. But right now, we can still see this learn more text. So I can give here background color. Okay, perfect. But this time we don't have font color. Okay. It works as we expected. So let's create other projects. I'm gonna close here for now. And I'm gonna copy this project. And 2 more. Like that. But as I said, it's gonna be a laptop. So instead of phone, this is third one, I think. Okay, this is first. Second. So it's not gonna be phone, it's gonna be laptop. Let's change here. Let's check our images, laptop app. Okay. Right now, again, I'm gonna comment this out. As you can see, it's here. And I'm gonna do exactly the same thing here. I'm gonna give my width and height for this container and create this screen. Let's copy this laptop. Width 600, height 379, and again it's gonna be flex 1. Remember, our phone was flex 1. And finally, position relative. That's because we are gonna use our screen. Let's create laptop screen. My width and height, I will say position absolute. And top will be 1868. that because we have this keyboard section also, so it's gonna start from here, and here is 68 pixels. And finally, overflow. Scroll. Let's give background color and see. I will say blue again. And as you can see, perfect. And we don't need to give any border radius. It's already sharp. And right now I can open my image. And laptop app, it will be 100%. And that's all. As you can see, creating second one is really easy. Okay, but in our example, as you can see, our context is here. And for the second one, the image is here and context is here. And the third one, again, context is here. How we are gonna do this? In our example, they all are on the left side. I'm gonna find my container, project container. Okay, here. And I will say, find the nth child. And I'm gonna write here 2n. It means find the even elements. If I say flex direction, row reverse, as you can see, the first element and the third element is row reverse right now, and our laptop is still row. It's that easy. So let's take care of GitHub section. But before, as you can see, there is still scroll here. I will find the phone screen, copy this, and paste here, and it's gonna be laptop screen. Okay, perfect. So let's create the GitHub section. We are gonna have a title here, and after that we are gonna create this container, and it's gonna include this chart and this text. Let's say GitHub container. Okay, let's change here. And inside GitHub title, want to see all projects. And after that, chart. And in this chart, let's see, we are going to have 3 items. Firstly, we are going to create those month names from January to December. After that, this box container, and finally this text. So I'm going to say dates. I'm going to write here months names. I will just copy paste, as you can see, inside span tag. And after these dates, we are going to have box container and GitHub title on GitHub. Okay, they are here, but they are black. Let's change them. Firstly, I'm gonna say 100 VH, of course. I'm gonna make them display flags, but vertical. Align item center. I can give here any gap, but also you can give justify content. And I'm gonna say space around. So basically, it's gonna separate those items, but it's gonna give some space from top and bottom also. And let's give some color for them. GitHub title. Let's say 100. I'm not giving W here. And for those dates, I'm gonna give some padding. Color will be 555. And font size will be smaller. Okay, right now they can stay like that. After creating our boxes, they are gonna look better. In our example, as you can see, there are 365 boxes here. And to write this text correctly, we have to create this box container in a certain width. So I will come here and say GitHub chart. and width will be 820 pixels. And if our screen is smaller than this number, we are just gonna delete this container. Okay. Remember, we have box container. Let's create our boxes inside. To do that, we are gonna be using JavaScript. That because writing all boxes like that is, of course, not a good idea. So let's open up app.js. And we are gonna choose this container first. Let's delete this console log. I will say const box container, and I will say document query selector. And to choose this box container, I'm gonna use its class name, like that. If you wanna use its ID, you can use like that. But we are not using an ID, we are gonna use its class name. Okay. And after that, I'm gonna create here a loop. I starts from 0 and it's smaller than 365, and I'm gonna increase this after each loop. Right now what I'm gonna do is to create a div here. I will say const element or div, whatever you say. I'm gonna say document dot create element, and I'm gonna write here what I want to create. You can write, as you can see, any HTML element, but I'm gonna create a div, and I can give a class name for this div. I will say element dot class list, and it's gonna be box. And after creating this element, I'm gonna move this div inside box container. So I will say box container, append child, and our element here. Let's give here any style and we can see better. I will say box. I'm gonna give a width and height. It's gonna be a square, and background color will be this dark color. And I wanna give some border radius, really small, just 2 pixels, and cursor will be pointer. And as you can see, it's vertical. That because we didn't use our container, our box container. I will say display flags. This time they are gonna be horizontal, but I cannot see all of them. So if I say flags wrap and wrap, as you can see, all items are here. Let's give gap between them. Okay, perfect. So basically all boxes will be horizontal, but it's gonna end in this point. We are not gonna see other boxes after this point, but if I say wrap, flex wrap and wrap, it's gonna move other items in different lines like that. But how I'm gonna give this effect? Basically, I'm gonna give a certain points here, and for those boxes, I'm gonna give a different class name, and using this class name, we are gonna change its color. So basically, default color will be this dark color, but for the active boxes, I'm gonna give green color. Let's do that and you are gonna understand better right now. I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna write my list. If I change the colors of those boxes, it's gonna write here, find me. So I'm gonna write here a condition. I will say not only box, if our list includes our box number, which is I, make it box active. If it doesn't include, it's gonna be just box. Let's give different color. I will say if active, background color will be, let's say this color. Of course, we are going to change later. Okay, perfect. It works. Actually, it looks like a neon effect. Maybe I will use this on my other project. It looks pretty nice. But I don't want to use this color. It's going to be this green color. But additionally, we are going to have a lighter green here. How I can do this? we have already used and child, remember? I'm gonna do exactly the same thing here. So basically, I'm gonna write here and child. If I say 2n, for example, and background color, this dark green. Let's check. As you can see, first item is dark, second item is green, dark green, dark green. It works like that. But it's similar to our text. Let's hide them a little bit more. To do that, I will give 4n. And as you can see, we cannot see our text right now. It's gonna be a surprise. So when I hover over our GitHub chart, hover effect, it's gonna affect active classes. And I will say and child, and odd numbers will be exactly the same color. And one more. Even numbers will be this other green. Oh, this is darker one, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's see. I'm hovering, as you can see, perfect. Of course, I can give any animation here. I'm gonna find my box. And remember, we are using transition, 3 seconds, all animations. And I can give here any timing function. It's gonna be ease. Basically, it's gonna start slowly, like that. And it looks awesome. By the way, I can center this. Where is our chart here? I will say text align, center. Like that. But as you can see, those dates look a little bit strange. Our dates container here. If I say display flags and justify content space between, as you can see, they are gonna be separated like that. Perfect. So what about those animations? As you can see, there are some effects here. When I scroll, all items moves in different directions and with different speed. To do that, of course, we are gonna be using JavaScript, but don't worry, we are not gonna use any library or something like that. We are just gonna select our elements using query selector, and we are gonna give a transform effect. Of course, to do that, we have to know which point we are on the y-axis. What I mean by that? When I don't scroll at the beginning, our initial point is 0. But when I scroll, this number is gonna increase slowly or faster depending on my scrolling speed. But how we are gonna reach to this number? Let's open up our application, and what I'm gonna do is to create here an event listener. To do that, we are gonna be using our window. We are not gonna use any specific element, that because we are scrolling the entire application, not only one div or something. So I will say add event listener, and our event will be scroll. And I'm gonna write here a function and just say console log window and scroll y. Basically, it's gonna give our y coordinates. I will scroll, and as you can see, it's increasing. If I scroll back, it's 0 again. So we can use this number and give different speeds for our different elements. Let's move this here. What I want to do is to choose this text container first. Again, we are going to be using query selector, and class name is salute text container. So I'm going to copy this container, and I'm going to change its style. Again, we are going to give a transform effect. I will say translate y. We are going to change its position on the y-axis, and I'm going to write here any number, for example. Let me show you. And as you can see, it's not centered anymore. Its position has changed. It starts from somewhere here, 100 pixels from the top, but it's a constant number. If I scroll, nothing is gonna change. So instead of this number, I can use this window and scroll Y. Actually, let's create here any variable. I will say let offset Y, and it's gonna be this number. I can use this here like that. Of course, pixel here. As you can see, it's not moving at all. That's because we have given exactly the same number. So even if we scroll, its position will be increasing using the same number, and it's gonna look like it's not moving. But I can increase or decrease this number. Let's say, for example, 0.1. And right now, as you can see, it's moving, but a little bit slowly. So if it's closer to 1, it's gonna be much faster, and it's gonna look like it stays in the same place. So let's make this 0.1. It's gonna be like that. And what about this image? Let's choose our item. It was text container. This time it's gonna be image container. I will duplicate this. Let's say image container. And again, I can give translate Y. Also, I can give translate X. So it's gonna move on the X axis. I'm gonna close here. As you can see, it's moving to right. I can say minus, for example, is gonna move to left. And also, you can give translate X and Y at the same time. To do that, we are gonna be using only translate. And the first argument will be X axis. I will copy and paste one more, and it's gonna be Y axis. Let's change those numbers like that, and it's gonna be faster. As you can see, it moves like that, but I forgot here minus. Let's delete. And here, and as you can see, it works as we expected. Perfect. It's that easy, guys. You don't have to use any JavaScript libraries, jQuery or something like that. Just choose your HTML element and give here a translate effect. What about this name? Let's check what was the name. Okay, name. Let's change this name, but using name is not a good idea. It can cause some conflicts. So I'm gonna say author name. I'm gonna copy this. And only thing I should do is changing my element name and play around this translate. So I'm gonna be using only X-axis. So I can delete here. And it's gonna be really slow. Like that. Perfect. What about this one? We are gonna use this job title. Let's see. As you can see, we have a title container. We are gonna use this also, that because we are gonna move our background image here. And after that, we are gonna be using those job titles. Let's create both of them. I'm gonna duplicate this title container and here, but there is one thing you should be aware of. We have two containers. It's not a unique HTML element, so we cannot use selector here. It's gonna be use selector all. So it's gonna choose two items here, and if I say job title container and first element, is gonna choose only this element. If I say title container 1 is going to be choosing the second element. Let's copy this. I will come here and job title container. By the way, I'm going to change this letter. Okay. And what I'm going to use here, basically I'm going to play with the background position of this div. So if I come here and say first element and style and background position Y. And I'm gonna write here offset Y, let's say half speed, and don't forget here pixels, otherwise it's not gonna work. Let's see. As you can see, there is an awesome parallax effect here. So I can do the same thing for other container, but this time let's change here and it's gonna be the opposite side. Like that. I'm gonna come here and as you can see, it's going to top. Perfect. This is how we are creating parallax effects. And what about this job title? Let's create one more and it's gonna be job title. Actually, let's say titles here and containers. Like that. Okay, I will say job title. I mean the first one. I will say style transform. Let's choose this one. Let's see. Okay, it's moving, but there is something important here. If I say 9, for example, and as you can see, it starts from here. That because our offset number is big enough to give this huge space. To prevent this, basically I should make my offset 0 when I come here. Let's say when I scroll here, our offset is 100 pixels. If I say 100 pixels minus 100 pixels, it's gonna be 0. And after that, I'm gonna apply this animation. So how I'm gonna know this number? It's really easy, that because we are using 100 VH for our each component. This is 100, 100 more to 100. And when I reach this point, the offset will be 200 VH. So I can use this number. Let's delete here. I'm gonna be using calculate method. And I will say 200 VH minus offset Y and pixel. Let's see right now. As you can see, when I'm here, it's in the 0 point, and when I move more, it's going to left side. It's that easy. So I'm gonna do the same thing for other one. Job titles 1. This time it's gonna be 300 VH, but this time let's change the direction. It's gonna be minus and plus. Like that. Perfect. What about this one? Let's choose project title. It's gonna be query selector. Like that. Project title, and it's gonna be 400 VH. And let's say minus again, and this time it's gonna be translate Y. Like that. Of course, it depends on you. Just play around here and make something creative. It's your imagination. And what about here? I'm gonna change this font, but remember we have two fonts. So it's gonna be query selector all fonts and font. For the first font, it's gonna be 500. like that, as you can see. Perfect. And for this laptop, query selector and laptop. $600 and one more phone, and it's gonna be $700. And of course, the second element. By the way, something is wrong with this one. Oh, that because we didn't consider this height. This one and this one looks interestingly nice, but when it comes to third one, it blocks our content. Let's see our project title. Okay, we gave only font size here. I totally forgot calculating this, but fortunately those two items work perfectly. So I'm just gonna give different number for this third item. So let's say 50 and perfect. So let's check the mobile version. I'm gonna slightly decrease here. As you can see, it looks strange that because our content is too small right now. So let's create responsive design. I'm gonna close here and I will come here and create my media query. So it's gonna be media screen, and let's write here our condition. I'll say and maximum width 1024 pixels. So when we are into this breakpoint, first thing I want to do is to change this flexbox. It was row, but this time it's gonna be flex direction column. And after that, I'm gonna delete those animations. Let's say project, flex direction, and column. Okay, this one is column, but it's still horizontal. That because remember, we were using ant child and it was row reverse. So I'm gonna change it also, ant child to n, like that. Let's delete those animations. I will say phone and laptop. I will say transform none. But if I do that, it's still gonna work. To prevent this, I'm gonna write here important. Okay, awesome. Let's open up the mobile version actually. Okay, iPad mini. As you can see, there's an overflowing here. That because our chart is too big. So I'm gonna say GitHub chart, display none. I'm gonna delete it. And it's still overflowing. That because, as you can see, our texts are going to write. To prevent this, I'm just gonna come here for the main div, overflow hidden. Like that. Let's check. Hi, I'm John. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay. But what about this GitHub section? So instead of this GitHub chart, I'm gonna be using this PNG file, this image. So let's come here. And I'm gonna say GitHub small. And inside our image, of course, it can be inside anchor tag and it can go to our GitHub account. And source will be image github.png. And after this tag, I'm gonna say find me on GitHub. And by default, it's gonna be display none. Let's come here after GitHub. Okay, I'm gonna say display none. But if it says smaller screen, display will be flags, flags direction column. I'm gonna align item center and gap between them. For the font color and font size and text align will be center, like that. But where is this color? Oh, without code, of course. Okay, perfect. And for this GitHub title, I will say text align center. And maybe it can be a little bit smaller. Okay, perfect. So when I click here, it's gonna go to GitHub. Let's open up iPhone, for example. Let's check. Okay, perfect. We can see those texts. Awesome. And I can decrease this padding. If you remember, where is projects? Here we have this padding, 100 pixels. I'm gonna decrease this. It's gonna be 0 pixel and 30 pixels. And text align center. Okay, awesome. But there's a problem here that because our project ends here, we said height is 100 VH, but this time I'm gonna change it. Height will be maximum content. So it's gonna end wherever our content ends, like that. Let's check one more time. Okay, perfect. It looks really nice. And here. Okay, let's deploy our application. I'm gonna open my H panel, and here I'm gonna choose File Manager, and inside public HTML, as you can see, there's a default file. I want to delete this, and I'm gonna choose my files, and move inside this folder. And that's all. Our files are here. Let's refresh our website. Of course, it's not .com, I'm sorry. It's gonna be .net, and as you can see, it's here. Okay. And perfect. And here. Awesome. It's that easy, guys. It just takes 10 seconds to deploy your application. By the way, our connection is secure. It's an HTTPS connection that because we have a free SSL certificate. By the way, you can create here any other subdomain. Let's come here, subdomains, and let's say Vortex, one of our projects. I'm gonna choose custom folder subdomain, and it's gonna be Vortex. I'm gonna create. Let's check here. As you can see, there is one more folder here, and inside this folder we can deploy other websites. I'm not gonna delete this default PHP file. Let's see. Vortex.devjohn.net. It shows this default PHP file. So what you can do, you can deploy your other applications here. Of course, they are gonna be only demo applications. For example, in the previous tutorial, we have created a blog application. You can just create a demo and deploy that demo here. Or chat application, whatever you want. Maybe only your designs. You have more than enough space and you can deploy 100 websites. Basically, it's perfect for portfolio pages. Okay, that's all. I hope you liked it. If I made any mistake, just let me know in the comments. And as always, if you learned something new today, please like the video. You can support Lama Dev by joining the channel or using the link in the description below. Don't forget to follow Lama Dev's social media accounts. I hope I'll see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.